So this video is how to start a plant-based diet. I have with me Ashley Decker, and she's going to share in this video, we're going to cover a few things. And some of the things we're going to go over are things like how do people get started on a plant-based diet, like yourself, and what may be stopping you. You've been putting it off maybe for some time, considering it. You've heard about the health benefits and you want to get started, but you just haven't dove in and started. So we're going to try to cover that. Also, the health benefits of a plant-based diet. And then maybe Ashley will share some success stories if she knows of some. But those are the things that we're going to cover in this video. So glad you're here. Glad you're watching. Ashley, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much. How do people get started with a plant-based diet that we're hearing so much about these days?
Thank you. So, I've done this for a long time, and I've helped at this point many, I don't know, hundreds at this point of people transition to a plant-based diet. It's part of what I think is really important in my work with helping people with food and body and reconnecting with themselves. And to start transitioning, I think one of the first things that we need to do is to really think about throwing out old dieting paradigms, old dieting ideology. This idea that we have to start on Monday, we're going to buy all the food, and then from Monday moving forward, we're going to be perfect in our execution of this new plant-based diet. I've seen this so many times. It's not realistic, it's not sustainable, and it really sets people to bump up against a lot of limiting beliefs and really challenges old patterns and behaviors. Because food is something that we do 3 times a day, if not more, if we're thinking of snacks and all of this other stuff, we really need to approach it in the most sustainable way. And so dropping ideas of like pass fail, doing it perfectly, and starting with just, first of all, increasing our fruit and vegetable consumption. If we really don't start to think about adding fruits and vegetables in, becoming more familiar with fruits and vegetables, asking someone to switch like from nothing to all overnight is going to be a ridiculously hard transition. And this is what I did personally. So I can speak to this. Back in 2012, I was very, physically I was fit, not very healthy. And so I was a mom, have young babies, my husband and I worked full time. And I, like a lot of people at that time, had Netflix, saw Forks Over Knives, saw Food Inc., a lot of those like documentaries. And I think I like just binge watched one after the next. And I was like, oh my goodness, like we were already eating organic. I had already become aware of organic and the chemicals in our food, but I was not eating a lot of plants, right? Like I was eating organic mac and cheese and feeling really good about myself. And so that was the thing is I watched all of these videos. I called my husband, he was still at work, and I said, we're going vegan. And he was like,
And what was his response?
yeah, he was like, what are you talking about? And my husband, knowing me, we'd been married for some time at this point, he's like, Ashley, you don't eat any vegetables. Like, how are we going vegan? And I was like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll do it. And literally at that time, I ate like red pepper, corn, and potatoes. Those were the only vegetables I ate. Pretty sad selection. I had never had a salad. I thought salads were gross. I thought lettuce was gross. I was 27 years old when I had my first salad. And we went overnight, like literally went to the grocery store, bought all that food. And the first 2-3 weeks, because I was very committed, I just poured hot sauce on everything. That is not the way that most people are going to make it. I would never recommend that anyone do a transition like that. And it was tough on my body, right? So I went from eating a lot of processed organic food to eating an exclusive plant-based diet. And my digestion was super upset for a long time, right? So beginning transition, like let's drop all of the old meal plans and dietary ideology. Let's just start making every single one of our plates 50% fruits and vegetables, right?
Right. And if I could just add, Ashley, also whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds in the diet as well. So we're not just limited to just fruits and vegetables, because I don't want people to get the idea like, oh, you live on is those are like the big ones, the staples, but there's so many varieties of food, but you know, that whole category, those categories of food. So
Yeah, so I'll clarify here what I'm saying because I don't think that we're connecting.
sure, sure.
What I'm saying here is that most people don't eat enough servings of fruit and vegetables. They are really good at eating pasta and grains. They are pretty good at getting rice in their diet. A lot of people are consisting on a meat, maybe a vegetable side, but mostly a meat and a grain or a meat and a starch, a potato, rice, a pasta, something on that with meat, right? That's kind of the standard American diet. Maybe it's a processed version, so it's a pizza, but that grain component isn't where people are missing a lot of the time. They might be eating a processed version of a grain, but most Americans are getting less than one serving of fruit or vegetables per day. So that's what I'm really advocating for, is that if we increase the fruits and vegetables, now we're power packing every single plate with antioxidants, micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, and lots of fiber. And that's going to start helping us really start balancing our blood sugar, as well as creating these building blocks for energy and cellular health. So that's why I say that. While
Great.
I understand that the plant-based diet is big and broad and lots of different categories, my first transitional step is to get people eating fruits and vegetables.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yes.
So, what may be some of the obstacles that people face? I mean, everywhere you look, everything around us is, bombarded. We're bombarded with all these messages which are telling us to consume unhealthy foods everywhere we go and everywhere we look. So, what are some of the obstacles that people might be facing, Ashley, with beginning this? If someone is watching this and they want to start, what are some of the things? Let's get into the psychology of what stops people from doing this.
Sure. So the first thing that I think about is, why are people choosing this transition in the first place, right? Certainly, there's lots and lots of great glossy before and after pictures of people losing significant amounts of weight, people really changing their health in regards to chronic disease, maybe getting off um, blood pressure medication or changing their relationship with diabetes, having the ability to manage their diabetes without medication. Lots of great stories. And I think that's what really has attracted people to the plant-based diet, right? People are sick, people are feeling poorly in their body. And so my first question is, why are we coming into this? If we are coming into a plant-based diet because we just want to lose weight quickly, we're going to have to check ourselves, because there's a really different lifestyle that we're really talking about and advocating for. It's not dietary ideology. It's not do this to lose some weight and then. So that's the first part.
So if I can just clarify, they have to have a why, a reason to do this. Most people, right?
Yep, absolutely. No one's going to commit to make a change unless it's really impacts their life. Because again, when we're doing this 3 times per day, it's going to be really challenging to just do it on a whim or just because, right? We have to have a powerful reason within ourselves that compels us forward. And generally, I hate to say this, weight loss isn't going to be one of them. It's a deeper intrinsic meaning. Yeah, weight loss is a great side effect. It's something that happens on a plant-based diet because we're changing the way our body functions, but it's not going to generally be the most compelling piece of it.
And for some people, it's a wake up call for their health, right? I mean, they find themselves in a position of health where they're diagnosed with something, and then that's their wake up call, right? That's their why. Would you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the big piece of it. It's going to be different for everyone, but overall, I think one of the biggest drivers is to first tap into, when we get a chronic disease diagnosis, right? All of a sudden, I have to get on the blood pressure medication. I think that's some of those first wake up calls that people go, oh no, there's something happening here. But a big part of it is also that we're really deeply disconnected from the functioning of our own body. So people don't really realize that they're feeling really poorly every single day. And so to really dig into that psychology of what helps us shift is to start paying attention. What's our body? I know I'm talking psychology, mindset, that stuff, but it's also this feeling of what we feel like in our body, and starting to realize, like, oh, there's something better. A plant-based diet helps me have energy, helps me have vibrancy, helps me live the life that I want to live, not just stop being sick, right? We need to move from just avoiding the pain and really look at this vision of what we can have in the future, which is a freaking awesome life.
It really is. And you've experienced it. I've experienced it. I've been doing this for about 7 years. I talked to you before this interview, and you started in 2012, right? This,
Yep.
and tell people watching maybe a little bit about how you got started, and well, you did a little bit about that, but just about your journey and how that went for you a little bit more, maybe, Ashley.
So really the big motivation that I had is because I was kind of maybe a little bit environmental, right? A little hippy dippy, had some concerns for the environment, the chemicals that we were using in agriculture, and started to be mindful of that. I was probably open to hear more about how meat or animal products was affecting our body. So I'd kind of maybe crossed that hurdle already. That wasn't a hard sell for me. And what became really compelling to me was understanding that I have a pretty deep history in my family of heart disease, diabetes, addiction, as well as cancer. I've lost several of my aunts to different types and forms of cancer. They've passed in my lifetime. I've had many family members pass away of cancer. And so when I became aware of the connections to not only processed food, right? So the big thing to not just be a junk food vegan, but a plant-based vegan, as well as animal products and the different ways that they are affecting us at a cellular level in regards to cancer. That became really compelling for me, especially having young kids. I would say that that was the big push, right? That was my big why of like, okay, well, I can't be sick, right? Like I can't even go there. And also, I was not, I talk about already eating organic food, but I mean, it was not healthy. I was not a healthy person. I was waking up tired every single day. I was waking up sick every single day. I had lots of kind of ongoing chronic colds, like a lot of Americans do, and running to get a Z-Pack from the doctor all of the time to try and clear up whatever I had going on. So that was my main motivation. And then we kind of did the all or nothing thing, which was to go overnight, all at one time, plant-based vegan, and we maintained that pretty steadfastly for about 12 weeks, 3 months. I had never felt so good in my body, but I had questions. And so I was wondering, like, oh, well, is this really about the vegan thing? Or is this just because I stopped eating junk food and now I'm eating so many more vegetables? And so then, to be really honest, and I am okay with this as being part of my story, we played around with it a lot. And so we tried being vegetarian. We added dairy back in. We had not come to this place where we had an ethical consideration about animal products. So we tried eating meat, no dairy, and plants. We went gluten free. We tried like 7 bajillion different dietary ideologies and iterations in between over the period about a year, year and a half. And it would be punctuated with times of returning to being a plant based vegan. And every single time that we did that, I always felt better being plant based. I always felt better being vegan. And I could really see the changes in real time in my body, what was happening and how I was feeling. And it became so obvious to me that this wasn't just a fluke. This is actually the truth of it. I had to have my own lived experience of it. And so then at a certain point, I was like, well, why am I messing around? Like, why am I just not plant based vegan all of the time? Because that's when I feel the best. And we've been that way ever since.
Right. So the things that you noticed when you started this, I know it happened, and I would just say, I believe that for many people, in your instance situation, Ashley, you guys did it overnight, you and your husband. But for many people, it's a transition, and it takes some time, right?
Yep.
So maybe you just comment on that a little bit.
Sure. So really the process that I advocate for is kind of multi-step over a long time, right? Kind of getting our feet beneath us so that we feel comfortable to take the next step because that's sustainable. When we're able to make these sustainable changes, we get to feel good the whole time. We get to really enjoy the experience, and that's important, again, from that psychological place. If we feel like we're doing it wrong or we feel like we're messing it up, we're not likely to want to continue that because a lot of us have that kind of negative inner critic who's chirping in our ear. So we want to build success. We want to feel good the whole time. So starting out, just adding in more fruits and vegetables in a really kind of dedicated way, right? I'm not just saying like, today I ate an extra apple. I'm talking about really loading up the fruits and vegetables so that it's a noticeable change. And then the next step that I actually advocate for people to do is actually to cut dairy. And this is actually a little bit oppositional. A lot of people will say cut meat first, but if you've read Dr. Neil Bernard's book, The Cheese Trap, right? It talks about all of the different kind of highly, I don't necessarily want to say addictive, but certainly altering to our biochemistry, all of those different opioid-like compounds, the oxytocin-like compounds that are in dairy, plus the sugar, or not sugar, sorry, plus the salt, plus the fat, plus all of that that's happening. It has an effect on our biochemistry. So I actually find that it's easier for people, because dairy is more difficult, to eliminate dairy, actually start to remove dairy from the diet before they even start taking meat out. Because a lot of times what happens is they'll start adding in the fruits and vegetables, they'll cut out meat, and they get stuck at vegetarian.
Right.
And they stay vegetarian for a long time, sometimes years. And we also know that there's so much happening with dairy that is not good from us, again, from a biochemical hormonal perspective, that a lot of times the very best thing is to cut out dairy first. And then once we get good at that, then we start working on meat. And that's just really easy, right? For most people, finally, eventually cutting out the meat is really easy. And now we've done this big transition. So, and I should throw eggs in there. I didn't like eggs prior to being plant-based. So I know that eggs are an important part for people as well. I would maybe think about doing like dairy, then eggs, then meat, and transition in that way. And all along, then you're learning how to build these new recipes. Now you're learning how to cook with new foods. And all of that takes time.
Yes. And there's so much focus on protein from media and corporations and in general, but the focus really should be on fiber, right, Ashley? Can you
Yes,
talk about that?
absolutely. So um, one of the things that's really important to us as a species, based just on how our digestive tract is functioning, is fiber. Fiber feeds our gut bacteria. Gut bacteria are crucial to our survival because gut bacteria is actually what's doing the work of breaking down the food material that we eat to make it into digestible forms, right? Absorbable forms to the gut lining. And right now, Americans on average, I think the average is like something super sad, like 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day
Right.
versus, you know, there are cultures throughout the world that are living more closely to the land, and they're eating somewhere between like 125 to 150 grams of fiber per day, right? So like we have a huge dramatic change. And the more that we learn about our gut health, the microbiome, all of that bacteria, it is crucial to our health as a species. So like that's a big piece about it, right? I think a lot of times, and this used to sound funny when I say it, but I think it's becoming more widely accepted. Now that I have transitioned more to a place where I feel pretty good in my vegan diet, feel pretty good in my plant-based diet, I eat to feed my gut bacteria more than anything else, right? I'm almost constantly thinking about how much fiber did I really get today? Did I really have my full servings of beans and legumes, which is that nice fiber packed place? But also, am I eating really fiber dense vegetables as well? Things like celery that come with that great fiber in it too. So that's kind of my connection to that fiber, is that it is foundational for our health, for our microbiome. And then on top of that, it really manages our blood sugar really well. We break down fiber so slowly in the body that we end up having this beautiful steady energy all day long that is very good for our body, because when we're bouncing in and out of our blood sugar ranges, and we have a very narrow range in which the body functions with a healthy blood sugar, it's causing a lot of stress, right? And so every time we can find ways to reduce stress in the body, we are healthier for it.
Right. And our gut microbiome is connected to our brain. There's evidence to support this now, which we didn't know this 20, 30 years ago. But so it affects our chemistry, our body in all kinds of ways, from our mood, our well-being, and everything. So it's like our second brain.
Absolutely.
What are some of we talked about some of the benefits, Ashley, that people will notice when they start a plant-based and or vegan diet. What are some of the things that you noticed? And I can share for myself with myself, energy is probably all across the board. That's one of the first things that people notice is like, you're like a rabbit. You have all this energy. You just want to go out and start doing things and burning it off. What are some of the other things that you noticed and that happened with people?
Absolutely. So yeah, energy is the big one, right? You become an energy powerhouse. You all of a sudden have the ability to do so much more in every single day before becoming tired. I noticed for myself personally that I woke up feeling good. I'll never forget, like maybe 3 weeks into our first transition ever into a vegan diet. Like I woke up one day and I wasn't tired and I wasn't coughing because I used to wake up coughing every single day, or I didn't have a headache. I used to wake up with headaches every single day. And I just kind of woke up and my eyes were open and I was like, oh, I want to get out of bed. Like I didn't have any desire to hit the snooze. I didn't have any, it was like super early too. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was just like, oh, I'm awake. Like we can go do stuff now. And I was like, oh, this is how people are supposed to feel every single day. And it was such a, like an enlightening moment for me that we could feel so good right away. And our age has nothing to do with it. We're just meant to feel good in the body. So that was a big one. Another thing that I noticed that I always found really interesting is I used to feel so heavy after I ate. And I don't mean like weight wise, but I just felt sluggish. Like you'd eat a meal and you'd almost want to like crawl into like underneath your desk and take a nap. I was just like, oh, so much heavy food. And there really is no heaviness like this for me at all. So that is another thing where I just feel light all the time. I never really have those issues. Um, some of the other things that became long-term changes is I'm a runner. I work out, we ride horses, we have lots going on. We live a very active lifestyle. And I know Rich Roll, I listen to the Rich Roll podcast quite a bit, right? So it talks from an athletic perspective, but I don't have the soreness, right? So I can go and do the same work as someone who is eating animal products, and I will feel no muscle fatigue the next day and be able to go again versus, someone like I just don't get muscle sore. I have to work really hard and maybe could push myself more to have that kind of muscle fatigue. And I recover from it quite quickly.
Right. And those are some of the things that have happened with me and I've experienced as well. First thing was energy, but then mental clarity and your focus, your concentration improves. And you don't get this sluggish tiredness that most people have. I talked about this before. Most people just have the energy to barely get through the day. They're at work and, they're tired all the time and you can't think clear. And so it's energy, your concentration, your focus, digestion improves, and your just health and your well-being overall just really transforms as you go along this journey. And it's really incredible because we're not used to feeling good. That's what it is.
Right.
Most people walk around not feeling well, and until you experience this, you don't realize what you're missing. And that's what's so incredible. It is truly life-changing, a plant-based diet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this even goes to like one of the things that I think about because I do coaching work, right? So I do a lot of work with food and body in this coaching space. Part of the reason that I'm so passionate about doing this work is that a lot of people have big dreams, right? They sit at home, they have these ideas, maybe they want to advance in their career, or maybe they want to start a business, or maybe they want to do something that helps other people, but they're exhausted and they're tired and they're irritable and they have trouble maybe in lots of different ways because they just feel so poorly all of the time. And I think that's one of the most compelling things to me is that if we can get people to feel good in their bodies, then all of a sudden they bring their unique gifts to the world. No one is bringing their unique gift to the world when they want to lay on the couch and go to sleep because they've put in a long day at work, right? Like that's not going to happen. We need people to feel good in their body. And I feel it's foundational. And so kind of my way of thinking of it is I want people to do the best thing they've ever done in their life, right? Whatever that is. Whatever they dream of, I want them to do that thing. Well, the first thing then we have to start with is the body. And the body runs on plants. And so the very, very first thing then is we have to transition to a plant-based diet, because that gives you all of the freedom in the world to go chase your dreams.
That's right. It allows you to function and to feel good. And when you're feeling your best and when you've created great health, then you're able to connect with people more, develop better relationships, improve in your work, and create the things that you want to do. But most people don't have the necessary things that they need to in order to do that. So that's a big thing, and I can speak from experience with that as well. It really transformed you, and you get to enjoy life. That's what this is about. You feel more alive, you feel more energized, you feel more awake. You just are enjoying life instead of just going through the motions. That's what I did for most of my life.
Right. Absolutely. You become a participant in the moment versus just trying to get through the moment.
Right. So, so we talked about the things, some of the obstacles that maybe if we can just cover that a few things yet. What are some of the things that are stopping someone watching this right now? You're watching this. What might get in the way from stopping you, or some of the struggles you might have in adopting a plant-based diet, Ashley?
Sure. So, we talked about, first of all, this idea of all or nothing, pass or fail, trying to do too much at once, right? So that's the number one thing, dropping that old dietary ideology. The other piece of it that we really have to consider, and I think is really important and sometimes gets not enough attention, is a lot of people are using food, especially processed food and animal products, not in ways that are about really just eating for our own nourishment, right? We are using them as a crutch, a coping mechanism, a way to soothe our feelings, a way to change our biochemistry, to create a different emotional state. And so to me, this is the two of the biggest obstacles. One, the strategy and how we approach it, and two, how we are using food in potentially abusive or addictive ways. And I know that's strong language, but I use it intentionally because that's what's happening a lot. Food in our country is the most socially acceptable way that we can medicate our feelings, right? So, and we talk about it, like we even have commercials about it, right? Like, eat this type of candy if you want to feel luxurious. Well, what we're advocating right there for is an emotional state change with food. And we would feel really absurd about trying to advocate that we do that with drug use, right? Like we would have some feelings if we were like, oh, if you're having a bad day, go do this illicit drug. People would be like, whoa, how is that a commercial? But we talk about that with food, right? Feel better, eat ice cream. Hungry, why wait? Eat this candy bar, right? Like there's all this kind of messaging. And so like that's a big piece of it. And we really have to be honest about that to be able to move through that obstacle. And that requires some inner work, right? Like that requires understanding, what am I avoiding in my emotional experience? What am I avoiding in my human experience? Why am I using food to feel better? And what can I do instead? And maybe that's resources. Maybe that's, looking for other people in your life, helpers and folks like therapists, if you are needing additional support to work through something. Maybe that is looking for just alternatives to help you feel better from an emotional state. Doing things like picking up exercise or learning meditation, or, there's tons and tons of other resources that we can start to work with our emotions and our feelings, but we have to do that work too. Because if every time we have a bad day, we want to go to the fridge or we want to go to the fast food line, we're going to struggle. So I think that's a big obstacle, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, I definitely agree. Definitely. And there are so many obstacles to overcome, but people can do it. People are doing it as we speak. So many people are living this lifestyle and have moved from eating processed foods, animal products, and have adopted a plant-based lifestyle, and they're experiencing the tremendous benefits. So it's truly incredible. And how do people get in touch with you, Ashley, if they want help coaching? You're a coach. How do they reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And one thing I do want to emphasize, you're correct, right? There are more and more people coming to a plant-based diet every single day. So by addressing these obstacles, it's not like they're insurmountable. There's certainly ways to work through. It's just, pieces of awareness, right? Things that we should know are getting in. And by the way, these aren't the limiting factors that stop people from adopting a plant-based diet specifically. These are a lot of the limiting factors that have stopped people from adopting other healthy habits in other ways too, right? Like they're kind of universal that these are some obstacles that we have to address. And I think I want to add just a little bit more here that a big part of it is when we start feeding our body really good food, we actually start to take care of the body in a really new way for a lot of people. We start to deepen our relationship with our physical body because now we're treating it with care and kindness and consideration by fueling it appropriately with what our body is designed to do. And this actually builds this bridge that if we are maybe dealing with some, using food as an emotional crutch, the more that we can connect with the body, the more that we can connect with ourselves, and we open up the pathways for doing healing here. So I think they go together, right? Eating a plant-based diet isn't just about the food. It is about how we care for our body. And the more that we care for our body, it's an expression of self-love. And so that actually is transformational too, right? So I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight that because I think it's important. It does really change the way we think and feel about ourselves all over. It's not just about the eating part.
It does. And as you know, the side effect is you lose weight of
Yeah.
being plant-based. When you eat more plants and you remove the high-calorie foods and the macronutrients primarily in your diet, the side effect is you lose weight for most people. So
Absolutely.
that
And
doesn't most people want to lose weight. So that's
yeah,
another great thing.
absolutely. It's a happy side effect, right? You feel better and your body functions better, right? You're able to have this healing inside that allows you to let go of the weight that was no longer serving you.
Yes.
So if people want to reach out and get in touch, I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Trauma Informed Coaching. You can find me at Ashley Decker for my personal page. I'm on Instagram, Whole Life Ashley, all of the places. But really, Facebook and Instagram are the places that I hang out most. I have a website, soulfoodbody.com, so another place to find me. But definitely, I offer an 8-week plant-based diet transition e-course if someone wants to do this on their own, or I'm always up for helping people with a one-on-one basis too.
Well, thank you, Ashley. My passion is helping people improve their health and their life through plant-based nutrition. That is my life's work now. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a subscribe. Click the subscribe, give it a like, and comment. Let us know what you thought of this video, if it's helped you in any way. Thank you, Ashley, for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and it's been so informative. So I'm grateful. And stay well, and hopefully maybe we'll do something like this again sometime.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.